Hey, I'm Justin Trudeau, and I'm so excited to be here because I'm in California with another lizard person. He's a lizard person just like me, and I'm here with him in California, which he's turned into a communist shithole, just like I'm trying to do to Canada. We're both World Economic Forum stooges, but we have really nice suits. Look at our suits. And look at his hair. I just love him so much. Oh, look at him. Look at you. I'm Gavin Newsom. Look at me. I smile when I'm talking. So people think I'm a nice guy, but actually I eat babies. Yes, I do. I love them. They're delicious and I'm always eating them. And then I use their blood as gel in my hair. It's very exciting for a guy like me. And I'm very happy to be here with Justin Trudeau, who is so evil that makes me look like a good man. Yes, isn't it true, Justin? Yes, it is true. Yo, you're just so cute. I just love you so much. Think about all of the people we could lock in their homes and freeze their bank accounts. It's very exciting for both of us. I'm so happy about it. Aren't you happy about it, Gav? It's just, yeah. Oh, yeah. Love it.
I like the guy doing the Gavin Newsom. I eat babies, literally. Yeah, that is. If I could do it with the AI, I would make my first thought when I found out you could have AI make pictures for you, which is now what I use for all the thumbnails for my videos, including today, was I was going to have a picture of Hillary Clinton eating babies, so there's evidence, but they would call that a deep fake, right? But that's what lizard people do. Like this. That was totally unedited video. They actually said that. I know their lips didn't match up perfectly, but that was totally real, 100% real. I'm ready to be fact checked. So they said, "Oh, sorry, they're not New World Order stooges." You know what I've seen in my neighborhood? Tell you what, maybe the world is waking up. Is it possible? I'll show you that. Tell me. I was walking around. We were walking around, and this was up. This sign was up in a window. Let's see if I can show it. Focus on it. There. That's what it there. See, that was on a window of a store. It says, "You will own nothing. You will eat the bugs. You will be happy. Central bank digital currencies." So that's here on the Central Coast here in California. Somebody's posting signs of the World Economic Forum guy saying we're going to eat the bugs. So the word is getting around, and it says central bank digital currencies. I don't talk about that maybe enough here because people are concerned about it. The economy's going to crash. And then now you pay for everything. Yeah, the cash is going to be dead pretty much. And then the switch to central bank digital currencies will be relatively painless for most people at first. So you just have to make sure to use something different than the central bank digital currency when it comes out. Think of things that would be better. There are things that are better. I've mentioned them before. They're going to be very good compared to central bank digital currencies. But yeah, that's something that was going on in my neighborhood. I saw that. So welcome to the show. It's Monday. We made it through the weekend. It's not yet nuclear war, but I simulated it. I had DALL-E simulate a nuclear attack on Ukraine, and then that's what I used for my thumbnail. And there might be a clue in there because the map that came up has an arrow in it. Should we? Do you guys want to hear the intro? Hold on. I feel weird starting the show without my intro. Okay, let's do this. We're about to get started. I'm going to take down this sign. Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. I bring you the news, the real news. Yes, the news about, I'm going to tell you today who is responsible for cancel culture. That's what I was going to call it. But instead, it's called DEFCON 3. Today's show, I was thinking about the things I could possibly say, but I would get myself in trouble. Kanye West found out that you get yourself in trouble when you talk about, certain people, certain ways. And that's what ended up happening. And so and some people are saying that not enough conservatives are calling him out for his anti-Semitism. And Candace Owens came out and said what she thought about it today. So whether she was going to defend him or not. Tucker, just had him on. And he's saying he was implying that somebody might be responsible for cancel culture. And then he was implying that Puffy is being controlled by Jews, he said. And then he said he's gone DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. And so now he's been nuked, or at least suspended for now, from Twitter and from Instagram. And now we're wondering what's going to happen next in the saga of Kanye West. So I have some of the reactions to it. I'll tell you whether his tweet was anti-Semitic or not. You might be surprised. But what I say? And then, different reactions from like some Jewish people, different reactions from people making fun of Jewish people, probably. But we want to present different angles on this show, because is it okay to say things sometimes that are offensive, or should they be censored? Should we allow people to say things that are offensive? So at least we know what they're all about, right? So Kanye West. And then in other news, the conflict has escalated in the Ukraine. The conflict has escalated in the Ukraine. They're getting hit hard. And so I'll have to report on that. A lot of people are just talking about how there's going to be a nuclear war, basically. And then a lot of people, what the common refrain is out there, the common refrain is same people that thought you should lock down over COVID aren't even worried about nuclear war. The same people that this, that, and the other don't care about nuclear war. So the implication is, the meme is that the media and the people on Twitter and the government are all really stoked about the escalation of tensions, which happened with that bridge blowing up this weekend. So everybody was like, oh, that's great, not realizing maybe what the response would be from Russia. And Russia just started today bombing them heavier. They were holding back, it turns out. So now they're bombing them. And so now Ukraine has to deal with this escalation, and then we'll wonder if there's going to be a nuclear attack. Is there a secret message? Is the AI trying to give us a secret message? Should I start with that conspiracy theory? Is the AI trying to send us a secret message? I try to use AI for my thumbnails. And sometimes when I need to get a picture of something. So I was thinking the original title for this episode was called On the Brink. And I was saying maybe Ukraine's about to get nuked. So then I say, Ukraine under nuclear attack to see if I get a picture of it. And then this is what it gave me. First of all, the AI comes up with words that don't mean anything for some reason. But that's a cool picture. And then this one has an arrow on it. And this is the one I used. So it has an arrow on it. I think that's kind of near Kyiv. Kind of. I tried looking at a map. You guys look it up, do some research, and you can see maybe there's a secret message in the AI. We don't know exactly how it works or why it comes up with these things. So it could be that it can predict the future, possibly, and people don't realize that yet. So when you type in nuclear war in Ukraine, it tells you what's going to happen, and maybe that arrow is pointing to where they're going to drop the bomb, possibly, I mean, I wouldn't say it's impossible. Then these are the other pictures it gave me. I mean, it's pretty the AI is pretty sophisticated. I don't know exactly why this represents Ukraine, but that's from DALL-E, which anybody can use now. You can use it. Just search for, go to labs.openai.com and then you can check it out. Okay. So that's the prediction for the future, is that place with the arrow pointing to it is going to get nuked. That place, possibly. So you heard it here first. Also in the news over the weekend was PayPal, and PayPal stock is down 6% today. So PayPal came out with a policy. Let's see if I have the story about it. I'll report on that first. Speaking of cancel culture, and speaking of something I'm canceled from, and who do I blame for canceling me from PayPal? That's an interesting question. Do I blame the Jews? Or you'll find out, I'll tell you, because Kanye West asked, who's responsible for cancel culture? Well, PayPal said that they were going to fine people now. It came out. I think the news broke days before because I had seen it. And then it went and started trending over the weekend that they have a new policy to take out $2,500 per offense if you say something with misinformation or hate speech. Basically, they said they could deduct $2,500 from your account for misinformation or hate speech. It was put in their new policy that went out to everybody. And then some people started to say, hey, that's messed up. Like a bunch of people started to say, including people who used to work at PayPal, or like the founders, said that they thought it was insane that they could fine people $2,500 per infraction. And so PayPal came out and said, oh, yeah, that was a mistake. It was just an accident that we put that out. That was never meant to go out. We were not planning to fine people for misinformation and hate speech. Oops. They said, forgive us. But damage was done. Everybody says they're going to cancel PayPal. If you're going to cancel PayPal, you got to cancel Venmo too, because it's the same thing. So the news on PayPal is, first of all, everybody knows, obviously, that it wasn't an accident that they wrote the legal language in their terms of service for how they could take money out of people's accounts. So nobody believes that. And second of all, even if they're not doing that, the $2,500 fines, well, they still already ban people and hold their money for what they call misinformation or hate speech. And they did it to me. So, and my wife too, just for having the same bank account. So I got banned from PayPal and Venmo. And then Katie got banned because we use the same bank account. So she just had the same bank account hooked up to a totally different account that we use to collect payments for our t-shirt shop. And they banned that and said it was because of hate speech, because I said something. So we'll find out how that happened. What did I get banned for? They won't tell me, but I have a suspicion about it. And it has something to do with what Kanye said too. So that's PayPal stock, which is way down. And you can short PayPal. Yeah, they said PayPal is not finding people for misinformation. And the notice went out in error and it included incorrect information. We're sorry for the confusion this caused. Well, they still ban people for misinformation and hate speech already. So everybody already should have stopped using PayPal, but people don't. I'll tell you, these monopoly payment services, if I was president, I'd regulate them. I think they should be regulated. In other words, that if you're a payment platform that reaches a certain size, that you're not allowed to discriminate, like, because you don't like different viewpoints. That as long as what the people are doing is legal, then you should not be allowed to discriminate. So I sometimes am in favor of government regulation if it's to protect civil rights, basically, which is the right to commerce, free expression. Finance is a form of expression. This is why I talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin obviously is the solution to this. Also, it's the reason Bitcoin was invented. One of them was censorship resistance. So anybody can send me Bitcoin and nobody can ever say somebody can't. And I can send Bitcoin to anybody else and nobody can ever stop that. No central authority can ever stop that. So that's why cryptocurrency is crypto. I mean, that's one of the reasons for its existence. And one of the reasons that you might want to use it, because it's free. It's free speech. It's a free platform. It's decentralized. It's all those things. So that's why we have cryptocurrency. But cryptocurrency, as great as it is, not everybody uses it. And people still need to be able to do commerce in society. And people still need to be able to collect donations and that kind of thing. So I think that platforms, all social media platforms, that's what I would do. I think it should just be regulated so that they allow, so you can't censor speech, which I guess kind of Texas has said to the social media companies that they can't censor people. So I don't know if the same thing can be done to financial companies, but it's almost even more important that you're allowed access to financial rails that everybody else gets to use. So PayPal, yes, definitely don't use it. And this show is brought to you by a different payment platform, which has basically allowed me to be on YouTube, because that's what they do to you in order to cancel you, because I've been on the other side of it my whole career. First, they demonetize you, then they completely take you off the platform. But first, they demonetize you so that you can't make any money doing it. And if I didn't have buymeacoffee.com right now, then I probably wouldn't do shows on YouTube. I would just do shows on Rockfin, where I am monetized and people can support the stream. But the only way people can support the show now who watch on YouTube, for example, easily, is they can use buymeacoffee.com. So you can go, and that's what the show is kind of like brought to you by. I don't want to promote them too hard, though. Like, I didn't want to shout them out, because I don't want to draw attention to the fact that I'm on there. Then the same people that got me deplatformed from PayPal might try to get me deplatformed from buymeacoffee.com too. But I think they're much more resistant to that. So there are good services like Cash App. If you want to just transfer money to somebody, in my experience thus far, Cash App has been great. And Cash App is really Bitcoin focused too. And you can buy Bitcoin with it. Cash App is great. You can send money with no fees on either end, which I don't know how they do it exactly. They must make up for it somewhere else. But you can send money with no fees using Cash App. My cash tag is $LTV411. And sometimes people do send me donations that way. Not very often, though. It's much easier, it seems like, for people to go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. And then you can buy me a coffee. And I found out they take 5% and they support everybody. So as far as I know, and I've seen other people who use them who are somewhat controversial. So we'll see. But as far as like an alternative to PayPal, God bless companies like buymeacoffee.com, like the Christian fundraising company that stepped in when the truckers, what are they called? I forgot. The one other than the big one. Wow, I'm forgetting everything today. I'm forgetting the name of the big one and the Christian one. But people will tell me. GoFundMe, is authoritarian, similar to PayPal, but not nearly as bad as PayPal. Patreon is pretty bad, but not nearly as bad as PayPal. Not nearly. I know people that are on Patreon that are doing okay, and I never got kicked off Patreon. But buymeacoffee.com is cool. Anyway, support the show, and then if I get some tips, then I do extra content sometimes too. All right, so that's the news on PayPal. Then Kanye West asked, who is responsible for cancel culture, implying, they say, that it was the Jews. Who created cancel culture? Implying that it was the Jews. I believe that I got canceled from PayPal because of something I said about Jews, I think, but I'm not sure. But there is one Jewish person who was clipping me and trying to expose me as being anti-Semitic. So I do know that there are some Jewish people who do want to cancel people. And I did have one of those who was, obsessed with discrediting me for various reasons. And that's but to me, that's not reflective of like all Jewish people. And so I think that what Kanye West said was anti-Semitic. I think it was. Not saying I'm going DEFCON 3 because I don't think that means anything. That's the one they said was a death threat. I don't know if DEFCON 3 means anything. But the one where he said the Jews, something was kind of anti-Semitic, He said, you guys have that's what he said. I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who opposes your agenda. You guys. And then he also said, who do you think created cancel culture? So, who do you think created cancel culture? I don't know. It's an interesting, I don't know. I think it's anti-Semitic to suggest there's a Jewish conspiracy that's like trying to keep, in this case, I think it's like that there's a Jewish conspiracy to keep Black people down or something. Well, because I don't think like all Jews are in on a conspiracy theory in my own thoughts. Not all of them are on the same team anyway. There's different kinds of Jews. There are some Jews that are totally opposed to the New World Order, and there are some Jews that are really into it. So it's not like they're definitely not all in in on it together. And it is kind of anti-Semitic to say that they are, but I still don't think he should have been censored. And it's like, and I also think that if you replace Jewish with white people, if he just said, I'm going DEFCON 3 on white people, or that white people are controlling Puff Daddy or Puffy or Puff, then nobody would say a word, nobody would say anything. So it's really just a question of how sensitive people are going to be to it. And I've seen different responses from different types of Jewish people. I heard Viva Fry talking about it, and he didn't seem that bothered by it. But then there are other people like Sarah Silverman and Michael Rappaport. Have you seen what Michael Rappaport said? So some Jewish people are very offended. I'll play you Michael Rappaport's response to it. And then some black people are really offended. I mean, a lot of people are really offended. And I think that's okay. And maybe I think Kanye needs to talk it out or whatever, because I don't think he really doesn't like Jews. I think he's just kind of talking shit. But it's not a good subject to talk shit about. You're just going to get yourself in a lot of trouble. So we'll see. I don't know when it ends, the crucifixion of Kanye West. Here's Michael Rappaport.
Kooky Kanye West. What are you talking about? DEFCON 1, DEFCON 2. See, Jews, we know about DEFCON 3, DEFCON 4. You're not doing DEFCON anything. With the Jews, we know about that. DEFCON 5, 6 million. We know all about that. You're working on the design for the new Yeezy Jewish space lasers. You're on some Marjorie Taylor Greene, Charlottesville. The Jews will not replace us. I defended you. Prick, you dusty prick. You look dusty. That's never going to be fashionably acceptable. Get the dust out of your beard. Take a shower, okay? I don't care what you're on or what you're not on. Take a shower. I was there. I defended you when Pistol Pete Davidson was sugar dicking your wife. But this is unacceptable, okay? You creep, you. And you're not going to be president. I know you think you're going to manifest things. You're never. I'm going to be the one to tell you to break the heart of your dream. You're never going to be president. You prick, you.
You prick, you. He was so good in True Romance, right? True Romance is such a cool movie. And then another Jewish person tweeted about it. That was Sarah Silverman. So here's Sarah Silverman's response. I think it's up to people how offended they get. Like I said, if he said, you're controlled by white people, or I'm going DEFCON 3 on white people, he would not be censored, first of all. And I personally wouldn't be offended at all, because people do say that. I mean, let's face it, people do talk shit about, especially straight white males and stuff. And it doesn't offend me that much. Like, I certainly don't think it should be censored. I'd much rather be able to see it and make fun of them. And I would think, like with Kanye West, the same thing. Like, I was listening to Peter Schiff talk about, he's Jewish, right? And he's a libertarian. And he's like, well, I'd rather know somebody hates Jews so I don't do business with them. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather know about it. And then he favors also, letting businesses discriminate and stuff like that. But that was from his point of view. But I think you'd rather, I don't know. I just think it's better for him to be able to say what he thinks. And I think it's also really important for Kanye to be able to express himself, because otherwise he might go kind of nuts. So we're in this like period of silence while he's banned from Instagram, banned from Twitter. Don't know what he's going to say when he gets back. Here's Sarah Silverman. God, I just get myself in so much trouble. That's the thing. But there are so many cool Jews. Like, I don't see how you could hate Jews. So I do think some channels and stuff, or like I do think some people really do say like they're doing this or they're doing that kind of thing. I don't know. There are lots of different kinds of Jews, and a lot of them are on Twitter, and it's like people follow and stuff. Anyway, Sarah Silverman said Kanye threatened the Jews yesterday on Twitter, and it's not even trending. Why do mostly only Jews speak up against Jewish hate? The silence is so loud. Well, I don't know. I think I think it's crazy for someone to say that people aren't standing up enough for the Jews. In any case, like, for example, the very conservative Washington News organization ran a headline saying how terrible it is that conservatives aren't speaking out against Kanye West. So lots of people, and this guy who owns this newspaper, I was like, oh, I wonder who owns the Washington Examiner. His name is Ann Schultz or something, but apparently it's German, not Jewish. But in any case, there are plenty of places, including like this conservative publication, that are saying that it was really, really, really wrong what Kanye West said. I don't know if people don't stand up against anti-Semitism enough. You know what I mean? Like to complain about it. And then the person responded to her tweet and said this. Let's see. I interview Holocaust survivors. This is how it starts, this person said. And that got 3,000 likes. This is how it starts, she said. I mean, that's just so out of control to suggest that what Kanye West said is something that is like akin to like Hitler. That's one thing I think. If I had to do an analysis and wonder, okay, so what's up with like Jewish people that like to censor, like the ADL, like this guy that targeted me and stuff, and apparently targeted some other people too. Like, what is it about Jewish? Is there something about Jewish people? Well, I think there's this thing about the Holocaust. And then some people think that you could have stopped the Holocaust if they could have censored Hitler. Like, I feel like that's a thing. People think, oh, if only you could have censored Hitler, then 6 million Jews would still be alive today, basically. And so everything then is compared to censoring Hitler, and that basically you have to censor anybody who says anything, because if you don't censor it, then we know what happens next. We know where that leads, which is straight to the gas chambers. One rich black guy says one thing about Jews, and then the next thing you know, it's gas chambers. So I think that's like very hyperbolic, and I don't think his speech is necessarily that dangerous. And people can take it. People can really decide how to take it. Like, does Kanye West really hate Jews? Right? What's his experience? I mean, he had a Jewish manager who he gets along with, I think, Scooter Braun. So does he really have a problem with Jews? Is he talking about the Kushners? That's the theory. So I'll play you what Candace Owens said very controversially in response to what Kanye said, because people are saying not enough conservatives are calling out Kanye West. Why don't they call out Kanye West? That's what they're saying. Oh, I can't believe it. The conservatives are making Tucker Carlson had this anti-Semite on his show, and he spread anti-Semite. That's what people are saying. But Kanye West is talking about stuff. There's stuff that there are a lot of black people who have he's talking about this like Hebrew Israelite thing. He's saying he's Jewish. So he obviously is buying into this like conspiracy theory, about the Black Hebrew Israelites, that they're the true descendants, the true Israelites. And then some of them have problems with like regular Jews. That's kind of a conspiracy theory, but what are you going to do? I mean, we let the Black Hebrew Israelites go out there and preach on street corners and stuff. I don't know. I think I'm coming around to the idea that, like, I don't like racism, but I feel like I kind of have to put up with it because people are kind of racist. Like, people say racist stuff. I say stuff people think is racist. So I'm kind of like, yeah, some people can be kind of racist sometimes. And you got to say, oh, well, maybe we have to let them be that way. And then we can talk to them or make fun of them, mostly. Can't we just make fun of racist people and have that be the way that we deal with it? Do we have to censor them for sure? Don't know. That's might prevent the next Holocaust. You never know. So here's Candace Owen talking about it today.
That was the tweet. And people subsequently demanded that the tweet be taken down for anti-Semitism. Now, if you are an honest person, you did not think this tweet was anti-Semitic. You did not think that he wrote this tweet because he hates or wants to genocide Jewish people. This does not represent the beginning of the Holocaust. That's if you're an honest person, you'll admit that. You will admit that, right? If you're an honest person, when you read this tweet, you had no idea what the hell he was talking about. I had no idea when I read this tweet what the hell he was talking about. This tweet inspired questions, not answers. First and foremost, what is DEFCON 3? Did he mean DEFCON 3, which would be a military defense position, not an offense? For those of you that are offended, a military defense position. Is he tweeting this because he's reading the Newsweek headline calling him an anti-Semitic? Is he angry because he can't believe that he's not free to talk about people in his life who happen to be Jewish, right? Without being accused of anti-Semitism? Is he saying, I'm not going to shut up and I'm going to keep tweeting and I'm going to keep calling these people out, referring to his friends that he feels slighted by? Is he talking about Jared Kushner and Josh Kushner?
Okay, there you go. That's what I was wondering the first time when I read his tweet. I was like, I wonder what Jews he's talking about. Because it's more helpful to say these Jews, And if it's the Kushners, maybe that's what he's talking about. It seems to be like Candace Owens thinks. Maybe she knows because she was hanging out with him. So maybe she knows more about the story. Maybe she knows, like, maybe some Jews were doing some shady shit to Kanye. Maybe that's what he's talking about. Maybe he is talking about, well, I called out Jared Kushner before. Jared Kushner is definitely up to shady stuff. It's not because he's Jewish. He is Jewish. He is like Jared Kushner is in this weird sect of Judaism that's trying to bring about the end of the world and stuff, but no big deal. Can't talk about that. But so maybe the Kushners is who he's talking about. Maybe. But I am curious, like, who is he talking about? Why not just name the people who are,
If you're a liar, you'll say, I was scared, Candace. I actually thought that Kanye West was going to launch a military strike in Israel, because that's the reaction. Like, when I woke up and I looked at the headlines, the reaction was like Kanye West had gotten together a military strike and it was going to go forward in the morning time in Israel. That was the reaction that was met with this tweet. Now, once again, I want to make this very clear. This is not a defensive tweet. This is an open question, which never seems to happen anymore. It's like you cannot even say the word Jewish without people getting upset, in the same way that you're not allowed to say Black anymore. In the same way that if you talk about the struggles of Black Americans and you talked about the people in Black America, like Patrisse Cullors, the founder of Black Lives Matter, who are harnessing emotions to enrich their pockets, right?
So there you go. That's that's Candace Owens' response, which is already being taken out. Well, the part that she said was that the tweet was not anti-Semitic, which I think kind of like by definition, it is kind of, because it generalized all Jews kind of. So it is kind of anti-Semitic. If you want to be like literal about it, I kind of feel like it is. So I don't know if he should get a pass exactly, except to say that maybe he does because maybe he clearly doesn't hate Jewish people. And it's just Kanye saying some controversial shit like he says sometimes. And sometimes he has like episodes where he says a lot of crazy shit all at once. So he might be having one of those too, you know, which doesn't mean it's all crazy. No, which doesn't mean it's all like unfounded. And he might really have, maybe there are Jewish people who are fucking with him. No, it's possible. I don't know. It's not all the Jews, but maybe there are some who are fucking with him. And maybe that's what he's talking about. Yeah. Maybe he's talking about the Kushners. No, I don't know. Just know it's silly to think that people don't stand up against anti-Semitism, or like there's a whole lot of it going around. But there are some people, I mean, really, I know some people that are definitely like really suspicious of, you know, the Jews, which I see why in some cases, you know. So anyway, that's the news on Kanye West. Some people said, don't talk about Kanye West anymore. I'm ready to move on. Thanks for the tips over on Rockfin. And I will thank you. Vogan Filter says, let's get the show of the week started off correct. And then there's another tip about the train bombing in Ukraine. I have to show that. I don't know if I have the video of that. I'll see if I have video of that. Okay. So that's that news. Then I want to talk to you about, we covered PayPal. You know, the Florida Surgeon General got censored on Twitter because they canceled the vaccine, or they said now, oh man, this stuff, the censorship of vaccine stuff is so out of control. So they're saying, the Florida Surgeon General is saying that males between the ages of 18 and 39 shouldn't get the mRNA shots, right? So that's information where if anybody else came out with it, it would be censored. Even if it was a study that was supposedly true, that's the kind of information you said, what he said they found out in their study, which is that the risk of heart attack goes up for after getting the vaccine. Then people would censor you for misinformation, I guess, and just say that it can't possibly be true. The vaccine can't possibly have negative side effects. It must be disinformation. So the Surgeon General from Florida, who's an MD, PhD, a recognized expert, said that people shouldn't get the vaccine anymore because it can cause more harm than it does good. And he got censored, and then he was on with Steve Bannon. So let me just show you. He just had a little clip on with Steve Bannon. This is the Florida Surgeon General talking.
Dr. Ladapo, did the senior management of Twitter, did any of these social media oligarchs up to now, did anybody reach out to you and ask you for the backup analytics? They ask you about your study, to ask you about anything before they took you down, sir?
Certainly they didn't reach out to me personally. I guess in theory, maybe they reached out to the office, but I've heard no such thing. But, you know, this whole, I mean, it is really almost criminal, really, in terms of how much disregard that they have for human rights. That, and I'm not talking just about Twitter, but this whole body that thinks it's okay to crush the voices of others because you don't like their message. Here's a message that, this is not a message that is in our interests or in someone else's interest. This is a message in terms of the data, the information that we were providing. It's a message for people, for humanity, so that people can make informed decisions. You want to do more research? Terrific. You think you've already seen enough evidence, and you think our methods are persuasive to you, that you believe that our results are correct. Terrific. Like, humans, people get to make those choices, but this body of tech and other forces that come in and silence people, they don't think human beings have the right to have free access to information that they don't want them to have access to. So it's Twitter, yes, but it's a huge deal.
Yeah. So he got censored, and it is a big deal that they want to control. They literally do want to convey. See, then that's the other thing about anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. They'll say like, oh, if you say cabal, then that's anti-Semitic. Or if you say New World Order, that's anti-Semitic. Because you're implying that it's a Jewish conspiracy. Or if you say that bankers run the world, then that's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. That's the trouble with anti-Semitism, is it can be very broadly defined. There is one version of New World Order conspiracy theory where it's Jews, but there are other versions where it's just, lizard people or bad people. So, but some people think, yeah, that's true. Some people think that. So anyway, it's just more censorship of ideas, right? Censorship, particularly vaccine censorship. Like, I don't even know where to start with that because I lost my channel over talking about it. The vaccine news, it seems like it's kind of coming out. I mean, it seems like a big deal to cancel it for 18 to 39-year-olds because of high risk of cardiac arrest. Didn't somebody get carted off in the NFL this week for some kind of collapse on the field? I heard. And then you guys heard about the congressperson's daughter who died, who got the vaccine and then died. Not saying they're related. But anyway, a Democratic congressperson, his 17-year-old daughter died of cardiac arrhythmia. And now they're saying, right, there's the increased risk of heart attacks and stuff. And so let's see what happens with NFL players, because this is the first one to go down this season. But so anyway, the news is coming out. As much as I can share with you, I'll tell you when I come to the show. Okay, in the Ukraine. Oh, there's this is a story about censorship too. The founder of Rolling Stone magazine came on Joe Rogan to say that there should be government censorship of the internet. And Joe Rogan put him in his place. So let me play that. While we're speaking about government censorship of the internet.
To regulate the internet?
Absolutely.
You trust the people that got us into the Iraq war under false pretenses to regulate the internet? Do you think that makes any sense?
Well, wait a minute. I would not. The people who got us into the Iraq war
It's the government.
was the politicians.
It's the government.
In the end, yes, it's the government. But who else is going to regulate?
But if they're going to
So-
be in power and they're regulating the internet, they're going to regulate the internet in a way that suits their best interests.
No,
The
but-
same way they do with the banking industry, the same way they do with the environment, the same way they do with energy, the same way they do with everything.
No,
What represents their interests? There's so much. You're talking about so much money
Mhm.
involved in disseminating information in a
And the
very
richest
particular
companies in
way.
the world are right now are the internet companies are rich beyond belief.
Yeah, it's fat, but it's a disruptive thing that has never existed before. I think it exists, and I think where we're at is where we're at. I think we need to move forward collectively as a country with an ethic that respects truth and that appreciates opinions and reality and an understanding of things that's not necessarily possible with corporate interest involved in dissemination of information.
But there's no way to do that except through the government. There's no way that you can do that except through the government.
Why is that?
Human nature is not going to change.
But the government's not going to change either.
But the government is capable of change. Okay, look, the government regulates, for example, the food supply, or it can regulate. Let's take the
Food supply.
that Department of Agriculture.
Why have they let
Health safety.
glyphosate infestate all of our foods?
let's stay with one thing.
Yeah,
at
but
a
that's the
time.
problem. That's the
I
government
agree.
regulating.
Well, then we better get better politicians in them to import better people. I mean, it's not, I guess, again, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Right.
Okay. So
But
let's
it's
take
not-
the
It's not an enemy of the good.
SEC.
It's not good. What are you talking about? Perfect. It's not good. It would make it worse if the government regulated speech. Wouldn't make it better, but only no. What a crazy person, huh? It's good Joe Rogan knows. But what a crazy person.
Or take the Food and Drug Administration, which regulates big pharma. On the one hand, we've got a very safe supply of drugs in this country. You know,
Safe.
their drugs are tested. You know, you don't get too many bad drugs. You know, prescribed drugs.
25% of all drugs approved by the FDA get recalled.
Wow, that guy's like so out of it. Then he goes, FDA. Oh, okay, FDA. Really? McCory, Texas says, does cabal come from Kabbalah? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But I think people use it. Yes, it does. I learned that because I was on the dictionary on one of these Jewish websites. I can't remember which one it was called, but it had a glossary of hate terms, and one of them was cabal. And yeah, apparently it comes from Kabbalah, but I know I've used it not meaning it to be a cabal. Like I've referred to cabals of people. It wasn't thinking they were Jewish or anything. Apparently it does come from Kabbalah. Yes, very astute. So yes, and New World Order and stuff can be anti-Semitic. That's what they say. So Ukraine is under attack. I mean, here's the deal. Let me see if I can show you the bridge blowing up. Somebody made a comment. Somebody left me a tip on Rockfin, left me a comment about how it blew up. There's this picture of maybe a boat. But anyway, Ukraine took credit for it from their official Twitter account. Let's see. I can show you this. This is a picture of like a boat or something under the bridge right before it blows up. If you want to look, there's that. You can see something under the bridge right before it blows up. Right there. So, so it might have been. It does look like there's some kind of boat or something right under the bridge, but people are saying different things about it. But anyway, they blew up that bridge, and then the country of Ukraine has a Twitter account at Ukraine where they troll Russia, basically. And so when they blew up the bridge, they said, sick burn is what they tweeted after they blew up the bridge from the official Ukraine Twitter account. I don't know if any other countries have their own Twitter account. Like, I don't know if there's a USA. Who would tweet for your country, right? It's a weird idea. I was thinking about setting up a parody Ukraine account now. Be pretty funny. But these guys do jokes. They say sick burn. And then now they got bombed hard today. And apparently they're shaken up about it. This tweet says that they were totally taken. It's in French, actually. So it says they were totally taken by surprise. They didn't think Russia could hit their infrastructure. And now there's some kind of panic. Russia says they're just getting started. And not only that, but now they have decided that they're no longer going to be happy just taking the land from Ukraine. They're only going to be happy once they've overthrown the government. That's what they say now. So I'll read that quote to you. I'll read that quote to you from Russian Security Council Deputy Chairman Dmitry Medvedev, who says this is only the beginning. Right here. The first episode is over. There will be others. I will express my personal position. The Ukrainian state in its current configuration with the Nazi political regime, will pose a constant, direct, and clear threat to Russia. Therefore, in addition to protecting our people and protecting the country's borders, the goal of our future actions should be a complete dismantling of the political regime of Ukraine, Medvedev wrote. So now because Ukraine bombed the bridge and everybody was so excited, and Ukraine tweeted out "sick burn," now they're going to get bombed to smithereens, basically. Now they're going to get bombed to the Stone Age, probably. And there were some people talking about this in advance, saying that there are some Jews that are really cool, like Glenn Greenwald is really cool, I think, at least. So he's not a New World Order Jew for sure. And he says, he's calling out how nobody's worried about this nuclear conflict. It seems like nobody's concerned about it. And there are people who said that this was going to happen earlier. This is John Mearsheimer 7 months ago about the Russians. So I'll play that. There you go.
The Russians are not going to roll over and play dead. In fact, what the Russians are going to do is they're going to crush the Ukrainians. They're going to bring out the big guns. They're going to turn places like Kiev and other cities in Ukraine into rubble. They're going to do Fallujahs. They're going to do Mosuls. They're going to do Grozny's. You know what happened in World War II when the United States was faced with the possibility of having to invade the Japanese home islands in early 1945. The idea of invading the Japanese home islands after what happened at Iwo Jima and then later what happened in Okinawa really spooked us. So you know what we did? We decided to burn Japanese cities to the ground starting on March 10th, 1945. We killed more people the first night we firebombed Tokyo than we killed at either Hiroshima or Nagasaki.
That's interesting. Speaking of no nukes, people say that we didn't actually use them in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And he said, and that we just firebombed those cities and said they were nukes. So somebody wanted me to go more into the nuclear hoax, but you can look at the pictures from Hiroshima. Like you can look at the pictures. There's pictures of telephone poles standing up and trees and stuff. Doesn't look like it was nuked, but you never know, I guess. But anyway, he was saying they actually killed more people with fire bombs than so. So some people say there's never going to be a nuclear war because there are no nukes. I don't know. They also did fake some tests, like at Bikini Atoll. The pictures from that seem to have been faked, but I'm not saying that nuclear bombs definitely aren't real because we would probably have the technology for it by now. But that's where the conspiracy theory goes, if you want to look into it.
And we were systematically burning Japanese cities to the ground. Why? Because we did not want to invade the Japanese main islands. When a great power feels threatened, the Russians are going to pull out all stops in Ukraine to make sure that they win. And then there's the nuclear dimension to this. The Russians have already put their nuclear weapons on high alert. This is a really significant development because what they were doing was sending us a very powerful signal as to how seriously they take this crisis and what's going on. So again, if we start winning and the Russians start losing, you want to understand that what we're talking about doing here is backing a nuclear-armed great power that sees what's happening as an existential threat into a corner. This is really dangerous. Go back to the Cuban Missile Crisis. I don't think that what happened in the Cuban Missile Crisis was as threatening to us as this situation is to the Russians. But if you go back and look at how American decision makers thought at the time, they were scared stiff.
So yeah, he's talking about it. They could unleash nukes, I guess, possibly. Here's a member of parliament in the EU who is talking about diplomacy, which is the only solution. I mean, basically, Ukraine is really going to find out how much they're going to get bombed now. And they're going to, I guess, escalate, which isn't probably good. It's probably the only way out right now is for negotiation. And Trump mentioned it. You know, Chomsky. There are a few people out there who are saying you should negotiate because what are you going to do? Otherwise, it's just going to escalate into an even worse situation than it already is. Pretty bad right now. This is a member of parliament in Europe talking about negotiations.
The war in Ukraine is quickly escalating into a wider horror. And from what I can see, practically nobody in this chamber is doing anything to prevent it. In fact, most people seem to get off on the fact that it's escalating. And at this precise moment, of course, as usual, the voices challenging the rush to war are attacked and silenced, smeared as traitors, cronies, Putin puppets, Kremlin stooges, Russian agents. Frankly, it's pathetic. And I don't make the comparison lightly, but the crudeness and cynicism of these slurs coming from mainstream EU parties might as well have been written by Hermann Göring, who infamously said that even though people never want war, they can be brought to war with threats and smears. He said, all you have to do, tell them they're being attacked, denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and exposing their country to danger. It works the same every way. Where he led, you are following. This House should be ashamed of this debate. Words are being twisted, meaning subverted, and the truth turned on its head. Opposing the horrible madness of war is not anti-European. It's not anti-Ukrainian. It's not pro-Russian. It's common sense. The working class of Europe have nothing to gain from this war and everything to lose. And I find it laughable that those calling for arms to Ukraine never call for arms for the people of Palestine or for the people of Yemen. Unlike you, I oppose all war. I want it stopped. I make no apology for that, and I'm not going to be scapegoated and labeled for it either.
Good for her. Good for her. Yeah, we don't have anybody in the United States who says that that's a good idea, especially liberals. So we only have people who say that the only solution to this whole situation is that Russia pulls out 100%, including Crimea. So even the people from the squad agree with war. So anyway, that's Greenwald writing about it. Yeah, people are not appropriately concerned about the prospect of the nuclear war thing. That's the word. So, all right, let me look to see if I got any buy me a coffees this show. And if I did, then I will give you guys some other news. I have some trans news for you. I got a coffee. Okay, I got some coffees. Thanks, Jim from Baltimore. Sorry to hear YouTube isn't following through with the monetization. Well, it says now would be a good time to insert ads. It looks like I can insert an ad, but for some reason, you guys can't super chat me, which is fine because YouTube takes 30% and buymeacoffee.com takes 5%, and they're not YouTube. So thanks, Jim from Baltimore. Thanks, G. Neal, who says, hey, Nathan, so glad you're back at it every day. Just missed the screensavers and music for 5 minutes before the show. That's cool. Happy to listen to someone with heart. Thanks, G. Neal, for the coffee. Thanks, Hopi Cobwebs, for the coffees. Who wants to know Jim's accordion YouTube channel? Hey, Jim's in the chat right now. So Be More Busker, drop a link to your accordion channel. This is my second request for your accordion channel, Jim. And then Brian M., thanks for the 5 coffees, who says, I'll stand against anti-Semitism when the Holocaust can be investigated, fully live streamed by a delegation from every race, live streamed. Otherwise, I'll continue. Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Got it. I don't think I have to be careful what I say, but it is published on my page. if anybody wants to see the comment. And Be More Busker is the, it's Be More Busker is Jim's accordion channel, and he's in the chat right now. You just search for Be More Busker on YouTube. I'll search for it. Be More Busker. Yeah, he's on there. Be More Busker is on there. So I can drop a link to it. That's what came up right away. I'll drop a link. Okay, I have one more story about being drafted. It's important for men to register for the draft. But you might say, oh, I'll identify as a woman to get out of the draft. And as a matter of fact, trans women still have to register for the draft and trans men don't. So they are saying that biological sex is real in the Pentagon, apparently, as far as who can be drafted for military service. If you're born a man, you have to register, even if you say you're a woman now. If you were born a woman and you say you're a man now, you don't have to register. So they're saying intrinsically that biological sex is real. By the way, they have the draft registration. So they're saying it is real and it does matter. You're trans, whether you're actually born that way or not born that way. All right. And then just to give you news, financial crash possibly coming. Get ready for it anytime. And make sure you could get some precious metals and cryptocurrency. You can get some now, or you can wait for stuff to really crash. But I just have a warning here. JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, says there's a recession coming. He says it's serious. So I'm just saying it is kind of serious what's going on with the economy. So we are kind of on the brink of apocalypse still. All right. So I'll bring you the show. Thanks everybody who supports the show. I really appreciate it. Thanks for dropping coffees over at buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. Check out our t-shirts at truthclothing.io. We have some epic shirts there that are in stock, ready to go right now. Truthclothing.io, and you can get some Doshi stuff thrown in for free. You can just go, there's even free stuff on the website if you order something. So check that out, truthclothing.io. And then let me make sure I didn't miss anybody on Rockfin. Oh, and thanks, Fruity Vegetable on Rockfin, and thanks Jacob's Ladder over on Rockfin. You guys are cool. Thanks, everybody. And I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Good to see you. And that is what it is.